And
Let's get into it.
This portion of the big stuff sponsored by this portion of the big stuff, or just the big stuff? The big stuff is sponsored by the Harmony Foundation. There really is only one portion.
What foundation?
The Harmony Foundation. Let me try that again. It's like when you call Shanahan's Shannon's.
Well, that's my daughter. At least I have a reason. Are your teeth not fixed today?
No, my teeth are fine. They're in. Okay.
Don't look at me.
All right. Well, I'm looking at you.
You got to get out of this yourself.
No, I'm looking at you because you wrote a column on Sunday
Oh, yes.
about the Broncos' plan for the draft, or at least what you suggest their plan for the draft should be. And you want them to go after an offensive lineman.
And I've always
me,
maintained that you can get offensive linemen second, third round. I think there are a couple of guys in this draft that, one, you could pick him up at your spot. And the other one, you'd have to trade up, because here's the key to that column on Sunday, that the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Diego Chargers are both going to draft offensive linemen. They need offensive linemen as much, if not more, than the Broncos. So what would happen if the Broncos traded just above San Diego and Kansas City? And that would mean getting into the 16th spot. Well, what would they have to give up? A first, a second, and a third. And you go, whoa, man, that's too much to get an offensive lineman. But the first, you're just trading. So you're not giving up a first-round draft choice. The second, you have another second-round draft choice that you got from Chicago.
Yeah.
So you're actually, I apologize, I'm wrong about that. You give up your second-round draft choice. In the third round, you have two, one from the Bears, one of your own. So you're only giving up a second-round draft choice, and you go, only? Well, so you give up one draft choice because you've got 10, so you'd still have 9 draft picks.
That still sounds like a lot to get. A first, a second, and a third to move up in the first round? That sounds like a lot, Wood.
Well, you have to go to the NFL. I don't know how many of you done it. Have you ever gone to the draft trade value
they
chart?
place number of points on each draft pick.
But when you're drafting that low in the first round, that is not a high number. It's about 960. In the second round, it's in order to get to 16th. And now I'm talking about getting past the Chargers, and I'll get your reflection on this. I'm talking about getting past the Chargers. Also, the Browns are talking about a first-round draft choice. You could get Eric Flowers out of Florida State, who is considered, even though he's number 2, he's considered the best overall offensive tackle. So you'd have those bookend tackles in Ryan Clady. Let's assume for a minute that he comes back to Pro Bowl form. Even though he's selected to the Pro Bowl, he was mediocre this past season. You'd have Ryan Clady tied up for another 3-4 years. You could bring in a right tackle who fits in this system because he's got mobility. You would have your set at right tackle, a right guard. You move back an all-pro
Vasquez
to right guard. Then you sign Chris Myers, who played, not Chris Myers, the guy from TNT or whatever, but Chris Myers, who was a center under Kubiak in Houston, or you bring back the starter from last year,
Will Montgomery.
And so you'd be set there in those 4 positions, and you'd have Shelley Smith and Ben Garland fight for the left guard position. And they believe, in talking to some people very much involved there, they believe that Ben Garland really has a chance to be the starter in this league, in this system, because he's versatile, he's well conditioned, and so the left guard is an important part. If you remember, the left guard during the Super Bowl years was a guy named Mark Schlereth, who did a very good job and actually made the Pro Bowl when he's here. So that's my idea. I think going after, you and I have talked about a defensive tackle. You've talked about a defensive lineman. I've been specific about nose tackle, but I don't think that nose tackle is going to be on the field but about a third of the time. So you're trying to get to the Super Bowl, get yourself a right tackle, and okay, so you give up a second-round draft choice. You still have all those draft picks. You can draft defensive linemen, you can draft linebackers, you can draft cornerbacks. You got 9, so you can pick one from each position.
I have a few thoughts. Are you saying the nose tackle isn't going to be on the field a lot because they're going to rotate the nose tackle? Because they're always going to have a nose tackle on the field.
Yeah.
Okay. So they'll rotate nose tackles.
Position will always be there, but Sly Williams,
Marvin
Austin Jr.,
and then whoever they might pick up.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of thoughts. Number one, I like it because If Clady is not the Ryan Clady of a couple years ago, then you've got a guy who is capable of moving over there once you decide to move on Clady. Okay? Number two.
At some point, he would be, just to clear that up, Eric Flowers was a left tackle.
Yes, he can play either tackle position.
Yeah, that he can, and that was the point I made Sunday, that Clady, after his contract's up, it may be time to move him out. You're right. And you move Eric Flowers over, and you've got a future left tackle already on your team.
Which means you better have a right-handed quarterback. Number two, I'm not so sure Kansas City's going to be drafting an offensive lineman. Did you read Mel Kiper's report earlier in the week from ESPN?
No.
He believes that Kansas City is starting to look past Alex Smith and might make a move for Marcus Mariota. Now, they've got the 18th pick in the draft. It's got to be a significant move.
Well, sure, but how many teams are we going to hear?
A bunch.
That are trying
Tennessee
to
at number
up?
2, the Rams at number 10, the Jets, where are the Jets picking? Number 6, maybe. They're said to be rumored. And then Kansas City at number 18. That's why I keep telling you that I think Mariota is the linchpin to this draft. I think everything revolves around him.
If you're the Titans and you like Mettenberg, if you like him and he is your future, then you dangled the number 2 pick. Who was the number 2 pick a few years ago? Was it Von Miller, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
So you could get a quality player there, but I would think that it would be critical that you're talking RG3 kind of numbers. I want a Lawrence Welk kind of deal. I want a 1 and a 2 and a dun, 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 dun. You have to be old to remember that. But
I've seen it in reruns.
Yeah. So in regard to Mariota, I think he's going to be in play to a lot of teams. I'm not so convinced that how about this one? I'm not convinced that the Eagles won't make the deal to get him and trade Bradford to the Browns, who wanted Bradford.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at anything Chip Kelly does in Philadelphia.
So I think there are a lot of teams. San Diego's name came up. Nah, they're not going to do it. Kansas City's not going to do it. Andy Reid likes what he's got at quarterback. Whether rumors. Oh, I know you don't like it, but guess what? You're not coaching there. Alex Smith is he's taking his teeth out.
Good thing I didn't eat lunch.
There are a lot of people that are interested in Mariota, but Kansas City is not one of them. Kansas City is going to draft an offensive lineman.
They need him, and so does San Diego. So you can very well
Cleveland.
be right. Yeah.
Cleveland. Those 3 teams are in front of the Broncos. Their number 1 priority is a very good offensive lineman. There are about 4, and all 4 of those are going to be taken before the Broncos pick at 28th.
Well, Woody, this is the year, and Elway likes to move usually back in the draft because he thinks he can get value and still pick up another couple of draft picks. This is the year, I think, when they have enough ammo, 10 draft picks, that if they want, they can move up in the draft.
Or he can end up with 13 draft picks.
That's true.
Really? You think you're going to find 13 spots on
look,
this team?
They don't want 10 draft picks. And you know why they don't want 10 draft picks?
That's why I said
they can't pay 10 draft picks.
Move up. Move up.
Right, I'm with you.
This is your opportunity. Get up to 16. Okay, let's say it's not Eric Flowers, and that's the name I'm promoting. I brought up the other name, Irving. Not Dr. J, but...
Irving Berlin?
No, not any of that. He's a guy who played at Florida.
Well, no laughs on that one?
No.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, that's too old for them. He played at Florida, and he started out as a tackle, but he also plays guard and center. He could be a guy you could insert in one of those positions. You could put him in center. So Irving will be available at their spot. So the question I would ask you is, you were talking about all the draft picks. Do you trade up? Do you trade down? You stay right where you are.
You trade up. You trade up. And you go after Irving because there aren't enough Jewish linemen in the NFL. Harmony is Colorado's premier treatment program for drug and alcohol addiction, located just outside of Estes Park on a private 45-acre mountain campus.
Irving too,
and it is insurance friendly. So visit Harmony Foundation Inc. If you have a problem or you know somebody else who does, send them to harmonyfoundationinc.com and go up and visit the campus. It's very, very nice.